That's what's up. Are you in the zone? Now, in terms of that, the music, the art, the culture, the aspect of the development of our youth, which really includes our entire families, you know, there's not a lot that I can say. I want to just let this flow out with Randy and wish an intelligent movement toward the success in the DFW, the success in your union with Mrs. Latasha Kane Owens, and she is your event coordinator.
On top of everything.
On top of everything.
My coordinator.
Yeah. As a marketing, there are many, many aspects of what we need to really accomplish, and we have the opportunity to say thank you. Enjoy life with God's blessings. My name is Roscoe Lee Owens, and I am your host in the Jazz Zone. Randy Jones, I thank you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
Mr. KeJohnna Owens, I thank you, my brother. This was a very, very, very intellectual show. Don't pass Randy on Lincoln. Stop.
Thank you.
Bring your family. Enjoy the performance, the opportunity to learn in the workshops on piano and on voice. Again, God bless and enjoy life to its fullest. They have me smiling because it's about reach one, teach one. My name is Roscoe Lee Owens, and I am your host in the Jazz Zone. And as I say all the time, like none other, we have some special guests in the house with a very serious concept, understanding, and foundation. Let me introduce you to our special guest, Mr. Darrell Scott. First of all, Darrell, thank you so much for being on the show as well.
Thanks for having me.
You know, and this is a part of our series. It's called DFW with KeJohnna. KeJohnna Owens, again, thank you on part 2. And this is a serious nature of what we're doing in the Jazz Zone because we talked about the music, the art, which we'll talk about again, but the seriousness of the concept, reach one, teach one. Darrell, I want to start with you because you're a founder of a foundation based on that philosophy. Why don't you let us know about when you started the foundation, why you started the foundation, and where you're going with that?
Okay, no problem. Based on the foundation, Reach One, Teach One, our premise was basically helping individuals that are at risk. And what I mean by at risk to crime, at risk to incarceration, at risk to drug abuse, at risk to things that may cause them to be incarcerated and possibly death. We started this concept in 2001, and we've been striving and working hard and building it and trying to help individuals re-enter society successfully so that they can make a positive contribution back to not only their families, but to the community.
Well, first of all, Daryl, I know you use the word you're trying to do that, but I know that you are doing that, and that's great because it takes men like you, I'm going to say people like you, both men and women, to jump in and understand how to teach one, how to reach one. It's all about mentorship and doing what you do. KeJohnna, I know in the DFW, reach one, teach one. I know that's a concept that is out there, and Daryl has the foundation. What are your feelings about just that aspect of the philosophy, reach one, teach one?
Very important to me because it's directly related with a particular specific part of my story and my journey in this life. I think it's very important that we all strive to be examples for a lot of people like the youth, but I think that the youth is looking up to us, so we need to be reaching one of our own in a leadership capacity in order to help the youth see what they're supposed to be doing related with what we're doing. Because if you're looking, you're looking at the youth and what they're doing is directly related with what the generation that Daryl and I come from. You say the age, that bracket now at around 30, 38, 35, right in that bracket. A little older now, but have set a seed of confusion sometimes.
Yeah.
As this society has become really related with the depictions of men, African American in general, specifically, really in trouble. So in that, I think we all need to be reaching out to each other, bonding even, and helping each other really get up by the bootstraps and do some things that make good, positive moves in our communities.
Well, I think that's very, very apropos and attuned to this show. Notwithstanding Mr. Daryl Scott is a founder, we're talking about reaching out for leaders. And in that, reach one, teach one is an aspect of togetherness and knowingness. And I know that you've known each other for some time.
Oh, yeah.
As friends and growing up. And I can say I'm very proud of both of you as young men that are mentoring and putting forth the effort as it relates to leadership. So, I just wanted to include that aspect in it. And Daryl and KeJohnna, I would like you both to dialogue about the reach one, teach one, and the philosophies that and the intertwines of how that makes sense and how it would make sense to the audience that is listening as well.
Well, Daryl and I, we went to high school together. Tall brothers. Got a nice game. Right. But our story is one, coming up good parents, good upbringing, good school, graduate from high school, but decision making. You take the tale of two men sitting here. One goes to college, strives, gets a degree, got a great sense of who he is, doing things for the community, and man, I'm so proud just to even be in your presence and all the things that we've been through, and to see you today, man, it's a great story because we both know my story. Me personally, I take myself and a great father that you are, that I have been blessed to have, along with my great mother, my fantastic family upbringing, decisions that make a man who he is, because I take myself out of what I was raised to be and made myself who I let myself become based on the surroundings I put myself in, the homie scenario. Take myself into a nice little bit of stint where I did some time in prison. And now I sit here today to hope that I can affect change, positive change in men and women that, first of all, want to seek change. Because once you put yourself in an environment that's conducive to becoming monstrous in the society, you can fall very far into that line of lifestyle. And through the grace of God and the foundation of great family and friends, I was able to, first of all, recognize that, hey, I'm somebody, I'm better than this. I want for myself, I want for my family, and I want to be somebody that can, my family can look at and say, hey, that's my son. And my man over here, Daryl, could say, hey, that's my friend. And that, it takes self-reflection first. And that's a big part of it. And Daryl, you working with ex-offenders coming home. You got many job opportunities. I know you got so many different things and stories to share about some that want and some that do not want to change. So share that.
Basically, first is giving respect to you and the changes that you've made in your life and the process that it took. I mean, a lot of it comes down to patience, perseverance, and persistence. And you produce all those things right now. And a lot of the individuals that I work with have all those characteristics. But what it takes is them somebody being able to reach in and letting them to see that so that they can believe it within themselves to become that person in which God intended them to become. I don't believe anybody is intended and set up to become incarcerated. You may have to go through that process to understand who you are, but ultimately you were supposed to be something that was going to be great, something that was going to be beautiful, something that people can look at and have respect for. All human beings came that way. Now, we make decisions and choices that lead us to things that may lead us in incarceration. And that's why we're here today, to talk about why individuals are being incarcerated and how, when they are released from incarceration, what can they learn to not go back to that? How can they break that cycle? KeJohnna, a question I would have for you, you know, is what has been your motivating factor based on your incarceration history, okay, to come home now to do what you've been doing?
You know, it's just a support network. And when I say that, I know that there are far and few in between on the other side of the fence, if you will, that have a support team as deeply rooted as mine. While I'm blessed to have a family that has been in my corner through all, I mean, from the good to the bad and all in between, because that has enabled me to make the transition. First of all, the letters while you're inside. You know, I would really give my word to people to, you know, if you got a family member inside, stay in touch. If it's just a card, you know, just, hey, keep your head up. Those things, you know, so many of us inside are removed from family members and things like this. And sometimes, you know, that's the way it is. But the process has got to be inclusive of the family, inclusive of the friends. And then through that, things will take root, which took root in me. And finally, you know, you just want to say, man, I'm tired of this. It's got to come to that. And without that, you know, it's not going to be done. Because if somebody is trying to stay out of trouble to get out, or, you know, trying to stay out of trouble not to go back, basically the thing is still there. Because if you got to be staying out of trouble because you stay out of trouble. This is who I am. This is not, I don't do that. I'm not that person. You know, and if it's not like that, you know, it's easy to find a way not to get in trouble and do dirty. So I just really, with some straight talk, I was able to meet some brothers and some people inside that really put some nice, influential, positive seeds in my mind and in my heart just through the moves they were making. I mean, a word here, a word there, and there's a philosophy and a saying that says the teacher will only appear when the student is ready. And the teacher doesn't have to be physical. The teacher can be lessons in life. That your daddy told you that when you was 5. You didn't grasp hold to it until you're 25. You got about 5 or 6 lumps upside your head from mistakes made. You know, my father told me that. But you revisit the lesson until you learn it. And that's when the student is ready. When he's ready, the lesson will manifest.
And touching on that, family reunification, in my experience, is a major issue that individuals face when they come home, because the family is so important to that individual in his incarceration process as far as doing his time or her time, and in the process of them recidivating successfully back in society. How are those things important? KeJohnna touched upon one, hope. I mean, a letter, correspondence like that sends an individual hope that, you know, I can get through this. I can do something. I have somebody out here that loves me and cares for me. Now, do I care for myself the way that this person is caring for me through this correspondence?
That's right. That's right. And then, okay, in the inside, you got programs that's for this, and you got some programs that will just grab you. Some work for some people, some work with some. Specifically, you got different things like AA. You got things like EA, Emotions Anonymous, and it goes on and on into that scenario. For me personally, SOS was a secular organization for sobriety that I became really just grab hold to, because what it was, maybe 20, 25 of us would sit in the room and we talk it out, because it wasn't drugs alone or alcohol alone or any of that alone. It was a collective melding of the grasp on us, if you will, like the streets. They grab you like that siren song to the ships, pulling them right into the rocks, because they can't deny it. The streets have an undeniable draw to a lot of our youth, to a lot of our grown men. Just can't let it go. And what I began to, in the group, we had SOS, and we talk about what we're going through that week, what we call putting it on the table. Hey, what you going through this? Oh man, it's like this. I got bad letter, or man, my daughter's sick, or what have you. Oh man, I'm thinking about going bad again. Whatever it is, we can lay it on the table, and that facilitated a great foundation for communication in a true sense, where it wasn't any kind of, you know, a lot of times you got to get up there and say, you know, you just kind of drug head, or, you know, that's all it does is revisit the pain. You don't want to revisit the pain. To me, this will work for me. And we just talked it out. We talked it out, and my first speaking engagement came through that. I was selected to speak for the group, and in that I had a long speech to give, and my spirit was so free that I just gave my speech, because it's not, I crumbled that up. It's not, like I say, alcohol alone, drugs alone, or any of that. A collective melding of all facets of self-destruction. First of all, I was an alcoholic, a weedaholic, a drugaholic, whatever it is, alcoholic, Cadillacaholic, womanaholic, all the way around, because I wanted to be a part of everything. Name ringing in the streets, cars nice and pretty, money in the pocket. You're drawn into it. Who wants to give that up? No work, no bills. You know, you do what you want to do. Wake up at 10. Don't wake up at 10. Wake up in the middle of the night like a vampire and get out there and go suck the community dry of all its worth. And then when you start looking at it like that, from the, once again, that foundation of support, man, that's not me. And that's how, you know, I began to make that change. And like I say, you know, just my spirit was not, that was not who I was meant to be.
I'm glad you touched on the aspect of SOS and your opportunity to engage in being a speaker, because reach one, teach one is not the number one. If you're talking to 1,000 people and there's 1, 2, or 3 that get the message that touch their hearts, because you can't, you know, it says change your mind against his will is of the same mind still.
Yes.
So it's the fact that they have to grasp it, want it, and then not only the support system, but the support kind of foundations that are put there in terms of, in your foundation. Are you doing interview training and things like that? Let's speak of the aspects, and I'm really appreciative of what you said and the reality and the real of that, but the application of how do we work with the process of bringing, number one, the family back into it. Like you said, like a little letter here and a little letter there. Now that's good, but even more so, the power of that unity along with the spirit of the individual wanting that. How do you start bridging that gap, Daryl?
Well, 90 days in the process of them being released, we have an intake assessment sheet. And in that intake assessment sheet, there's different criteria and questions that we're asking each individual. And as they go through that, they start to figure out things that corresponded to them making poor choices and decisions in their life. And through this assessment sheet, we figure out what they need to be able to support them, to be able to make a positive contribution back to society. We also have a criminal behavior intervention plan that we put them on. And what that does is it allows them to kind of have a diary of their life. And it's confidential and it's theirs. But it gives them kind of a mirror of what they've done in the past so that they can always reflect back on that. That way, when they're making poor choices or they feel hopeless or they feel lonely or they feel depressed or they feel angry, all those emotions rolled up cause us to make poor decisions. Any human being under that type of distress is going to make a poor decision. The thing is, with this population, they're in an institutionalized that is set up to be violent in some ways. So now they're dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? Combined with all the issues that they had before. So now they're coming back to society with all this baggage.
Angry and bitter.
Okay, all this baggage that they have to carry. And then you have a society that's uneducated on them, that doesn't understand that they're carrying this baggage. They understand that they made a poor choice and they committed a crime, but that they don't understand what's behind that crime. You have to understand this. 70% of the individuals that are incarcerated have fallen under some type of drug or alcohol issue. Now there's another 30% that are just straight criminals, okay? What interventions are there in place, KeJohnna, for individuals that may have just criminal issues? Like you stated, man, I have this feeling of just wanting to be out in the streets. I want the women, I want the cars, I want the money, I want the lifestyle, I want to survive, I want to be proud of that. What is in place for that individual to be able to fixate on trying to change? Because being in Los Angeles County, okay, whereas you have a lot of different things that you can get into, okay, and a lot of that has to do with economics, to where you're going to want to continue to make poor choices to live up to the standards of how this society is set up out here. How do you break that cycle?
The mirror, for me, the mirror. You know, when you look into the mirror of yourself, and you look at yourself, and you say, you gotta, and people don't want to. And when you're in that mindset, that's the last. It's like when the cell door lock and you're by yourself. That's the worst time for a lot of people. But in the latter stages of my time, which I did 16 years, the latter stages of that time, I had to sit there and I began to enjoy the time to think and reflect on what I wanted out of my life. But they do have things in place, and you have to, once you recognize that you want different, you have to ask. You have to be willing to ask. Like this brother here, if I will, I'll segue right into this. Mark O'Man, a good friend of mine in there whom I met on the inside that was really interested in his artwork, but what he didn't have was his heart into it, or really what he had was what he saw and just his, doodling and spending time, wasting time to get through with his time, if you can understand that. And what we did was we took what he loved was jazz, which is directly related with the family business that I have. And I just said, brother, why don't you just paint what you feel? If you love jazz, paint the greatness that you see in it. So he took Monk, Charlie Bird Parker, Miles Davis, and he made them into beautiful depictions of what he felt about the music, as well as his Behind the Bars series, which you see here. These two very, very deep, solemn pieces of what a brother can feel on the inside. And if you can even just reflect on them, they're just deep pain and wanting to almost break out right here. you know, man, what I get myself into. My wife stayed in my corner for the majority of the time, write letters, strong friendship. And with that, you just got to really deal with yourself. I've been to this interview right now because I really wanted to affect change in people and share the story and hopefully, you know, reach one, teach one. Man, you know, that right there, if one person looks at this and they say, man, you know what, I'm through. You know what, I come out of the gate. My family, my business, I'm in business, I work. I know the scenario about the job situation. I go to job interviews, you know, no, but I smile. Thank you. Because each experience was a learning experience that I can apply to the next interview, and to the next interview, and to the next interview, and to the one interview that they say, hey, come on in here, and I'm going to give you a chance. And that's what you got to take hold to. So I worked at boneyard, wrecking yard, work from here to way over there. Woo! Hey, go get that. Move it from here to over there. You know what? No, take it back and put it over there. That's just work. But it showed my wife. It showed my family. It showed my heart. And it showed myself that, hey, I'm willing to do what it takes to stay within who I am and take care of my family. And through that work ethic, began to get promotions. I can keep my bottom line met because I get paid on Friday, and I can chase my dream because I got that kind of energy and zest for life that I can be a part of this great, great business that my father and I have put in place as we expand into the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex that's really, really growing by leaps and bounds.
That's wonderful.
That's pretty heavy.
That's
you know what? I would like to see if we can get a close-up on Marco Man before we come out of here, especially the series that, what do you call it, Behind?
I call this series Behind the Wall.
Behind the Wall.
Behind the Wall.
I would like to get a close-up on this piece of Marco Man because what both of you gentlemen have said is very, very, very important. And